How do you anchor a 70,000-ton concrete skyscraper on an island made entirely of loose, shifting sand without touching a single inch of solid bedrock? To build the world's most famous hotel, engineers couldn't drive foundations into rock because there wasn't any. Instead, they relied on a bold force of physics that held the entire structure upright in open ocean waters, defying every rule of modern architecture. In 1993, Sheikh Mohammed commissioned a design that would define Dubai before the world even knew its name. Architect Tom Wright sketched a towering concept shaped like a traditional Arab dhow sail. The location selected was 280 meters offshore in the Arabian Gulf. However, initial site surveys revealed a critical crisis. Solid bedrock sat over 180 meters below the seabed. Drilling down to reach solid rock was financially and structurally impossible. Faced with open water and unstable silt, engineers at Atkins devised a radical solution. Instead of resting the building on solid rock, the structure would rely entirely on friction piles. By driving 230 massive concrete cylinders 40 meters deep into the seabed, the accumulated surface friction between the sand grains and the concrete walls would support the massive weight. Before a single steel beam could climb toward the sky, crews anchored pile-driving barges in the turquoise waters on July 8, 1994, initiating a 3-year battle to create land where only ocean previously existed.
The impossible wasn't building the Burj Al Arab. It was finding a way to build it where no building should ever stand.
Positioned in open ocean, giant hydraulic hammers mounted on floating barges began driving the 40-meter-long concrete piles straight into the sea floor. Each cylinder measured 1.5 meters in diameter. Without bedrock to land on, workers hammered all 230 piles deep through layers of silt and sand. The sheer surface area of this subterranean concrete forest allowed the surrounding earth to grip the foundation with immense force, creating the invisible skeleton of an island. To isolate the construction zone from crashing ocean swells, crews drove temporary steel sheet piles in a wide ring around the perimeter. This steel barrier held back the Gulf while workers constructed the permanent island inside. Rock buns were dropped on both sides of the sheet walls to reinforce the boundary against 100-year storm waves. With the outer ring secured, dredgers began pumping hydraulic fill directly into the enclosure. Millions of tons of sand and water slurry sprayed into the steel ring, slowly displacing the ocean. Technicians measured the fill level every hour. Pumping too fast risked buckling the steel sheet piles, while moving too slow disrupted the tight 3-year timeline. Over weeks of continuous pumping, the heavy slurry settled, the ocean water drained away, and dry land emerged where open sea had reigned for millennia. Workers immediately drove vibratory compaction probes deep into the freshly deposited fill, shaking the loose, saturated grains into a dense, solid mass capable of carrying thousands of tons of structural concrete.
They didn't just build an island. They erased a piece of the sea and replaced it with solid ground.
Exposed to the open waters of the Arabian Gulf, the newly reclaimed sand island faced an immediate threat: violent storm waves capable of sweeping the fresh land back into the sea. To protect the site without building an unsightly concrete wall that would ruin the luxury aesthetic, engineers introduced an unprecedented coastal defense mechanism to the Gulf. Instead of traditional solid sea barriers that reflect wave energy upward with destructive force, workers installed specialized hollow concrete armor blocks around the island perimeter. These concrete honeycomb structures were engineered to absorb and bleed off wave energy as water passed through the gaps, dramatically reducing the impact of crashing swells. Heavy armor rock was laid over the fill surface to lock the shoreline in place. Behind this innovative coastal shield, crews constructed a permanent concrete seawall rising 7.5 meters above sea level. This elevation ensured that even extreme 100-year storm waves would smash harmlessly against the defense perimeter, keeping the lowest operational floors completely dry. Subterranean drainage networks were buried deep within the sandfill to continuously collect and divert rising groundwater back into the ocean. 3 years after the first pile broke the water's surface, a stable, waterproof platform stood 7.5 meters above the waves. Workers then trimmed all 230 concrete pile heads to an exact horizontal plane within 5 millimeters. With the newly created ground leveled, the newly created ground was ready to receive the massive building raft.
3 years earlier, this was nothing but open water. Now every millimeter is ready to carry an icon the world has never seen.
With the pile heads trimmed level, workers laid blinding concrete across the entire footprint to create a clean working base. To prevent corrosive salt water from seeping upward into the hotel's foundation over its 100-year lifespan, technicians heat-welded a thick waterproof membrane across the entire floor. Formwork was constructed around the perimeter to contain 70,000 tons of concrete, and hundreds of steel fixers began tying a massive rebar cage that tied every single pile head directly into the building's main footprint. The pour of the foundation raft was a high-stakes, non-stop operation. To eliminate cold joints, weak structural planes caused when fresh concrete is poured against setting concrete, 70,000 cubic meters of concrete were placed in one continuous stream. Concrete mixer trucks cycled endlessly, while workers drove mechanical vibrators deep into every layer, eliminating air voids that could compromise the island raft. Because large concrete masses generate immense thermal energy as they cure, interior temperatures threaten to crack the raft from within. Engineers cast cold water cooling pipes directly inside the concrete matrix, logging temperatures hourly to keep the interior below 70 degrees Celsius. Wet burlap hessian was spread across the surface to control moisture evaporation, while laser-guided screeds leveled the top plane. Once cured, workers coated the entire raft in protective epoxy to seal out salt air. 2 full years of intense sea engineering were finally complete. 40 meters below stood 230 piles, supporting a rock-solid concrete platform ready for the hotel to rise.
Everything the world would one day admire depended on this silent slab of concrete, curing perfectly beneath our feet.
With the foundation raft locked in place, starter rebar was drilled into the concrete, allowing the hotel to finally climb into the Dubai sky. To erect the central V-shaped spine without traditional ground scaffolding, engineers deployed self-climbing jump form work. Powered by heavy hydraulic jacks, these modular forms gripped the newly cured concrete and lifted themselves upward floor by floor, carrying workers, tools, and concrete placement arms 300 meters above the Gulf floor. To construct the expansive guest floors stretching outward from the core, teams used flying table forms 18 meters long. Rather than relying on support shoring from the ground below, these massive timber and steel tables hung directly from the cured core walls. Across every slab slab, post-tension steel tendons were threaded through hollow internal ducts prior to pouring concrete. Once the concrete achieved structural strength, hydraulic jacks tensioned the high-strength steel strands from the slab edges, pulling the concrete into permanent compression. This structural re-engineering reduced overall slab thickness and steel weight, accelerating the construction cycle to a rapid floor-by-floor rhythm. Workers repeated this pour, stress, and strip cycle 56 times. At every key level, heavy steel anchor plates were cast directly into the core walls, creating exact connection points for the building's future steel exoskeleton. Working hundreds of meters above the open ocean with no surrounding ground to step back onto, crews poured the final core concrete at 250 meters, completing a naked concrete spine standing on its ocean platform.
If you've made it this far, hit subscribe, because the most impossible part of this transformation is just getting started.
With the concrete spine complete, floating barges delivered 9,000 tons of structural steel to assemble the hotel's massive outer exoskeleton. Steel riggers climbing the exterior frame bolted diagonal cross braces directly to the anchor plates, creating a rigid skeleton engineered to withstand powerful Gulf wind loads. 200 meters above the water, crews cantilevered the Al Muntaha restaurant arm 27 meters out over open sea, while level 59 saw workers bolt radial steel beams into a ring girder to suspend the circular helipad in midair. To form the hotel's distinctive dhow sail facade across the massive atrium, architects selected dual-layer PTFE Teflon-coated woven fiberglass. Designed to resist extreme heat, UV radiation, and corrosive salt air for a century, every panel was custom cut to match the building's sweeping curves. Workers carefully unfolded the fabric panels high above the water, crimping edge fittings into place before using heavy turnbuckles to pull the fabric completely taut across the steel frame. Crews tapped every square meter of fabric to ensure correct tension. Any loose material would flutter in offshore winds and degrade within months. Double-layered atrium panels were tensioned with internal steel cables to keep direct sunlight out while diffusing natural light deep into the building. As the last panel was secured 315 meters above the water, the gleaming white sail finally emerged over Dubai's coastline, transforming the complex structural skeleton into the world-famous silhouette, vision dreamed up 6 years prior.
6 years ago, this was open water. Today, it stands as one of the greatest engineering achievements ever built at sea.
Inside the soaring 180-meter atrium, the tallest on Earth, finishing crews worked across 18 levels simultaneously. Workers installed high-speed glass elevator rails, laid rare Carrara marble with perfectly matched veining across the lobby floor, and mounted massive 18-centimeter thick acrylic aquarium walls holding nearly 1 million liters of seawater pressure. To achieve unprecedented luxury, specialist artisans hand-applied nearly 1,800 square meters of 24-karat gold leaf sheet, bit by bit, pressing the postage-sized foil onto columns using soft brushes. Every one of the 202 duplex suites featured custom-curved ceilings prefabricated off-site, while custom-cut South African and Indian carpets lined the corridors. After a private 280-meter bridge linked the artificial island directly to mainland Dubai, technicians energized the main electrical switchgear, testing every sprinkler head and fire damper before the grand opening on December 1, 1999. In total, 5 years of relentless labor, $1 billion, 230 friction piles, and 70,000 tons of concrete transformed open ocean into the definitive architectural symbol of the Middle East. By building an impossible island before the modern skyline even existed, the Burj Al Arab laid the foundation for Dubai's rise as a global metropolis. What do you think about Dubai's billion-dollar offshore gamble? Was building an artificial island on friction piles a stroke of structural genius or an extreme engineering risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what mega engineering feat we should break down next.
From open ocean to a global icon, the Burj Al Arab proved that impossible engineering can reshape an entire city's future.